At 10 a.m., just days after Ukrainian drones turned Moscow's major airports into smoking ruins, forcing the average Russian citizen to look out their window and realize the special military operation had finally arrived at their doorstep, Kyiv decided to double down. Hovering just under 100 feet above the frozen streets, a swarm of 40 AN-196 Liutyi drones is currently counting down 180 seconds to impact. The Russians thought the airport strikes were the climax, a painful lesson that the war was real. They were wrong. Those were just the opening act. Tonight, the target isn't a runway or a fuel tank. It is the very symbol of Russian power itself. Moscow has become the most heavily defended fortress on Earth. But as the operator pushes the throttle forward, he knows something the Russians don't. The ring of steel was built to stop missiles, not a swarm of angry fiberglass ghosts flying at treetop level. The war hasn't just come to Moscow, it has come to dinner, and it brought fireworks. At 09:15 p.m., the Wolfpack crosses the final line of defense and splits into two distinct groups, executing a tactic that feels less like military doctrine and more like a street hustle. The 20 decoy drones break formation and climb to 2,000 feet, lighting up their transponders and effectively screaming, "Look at me! I'm attacking the capital!" Meanwhile, the 20 lethal main drones drop to a terrifying altitude of 50 feet, hugging the frozen surface of the Moskva River, using the winding banks as a natural canyon to hide from radar. In the Ukrainian bunker, the operator is wiping sweat from his palms, watching the telemetry as the first Russian response team takes the bait. A Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopter scrambled from a nearby airbase roars into the sector. The pilot, adrenaline probably spiking through the roof, spots the high-flying decoys and screams, "High contacts! Engaging!" over the radio. The night sky erupts with the thumping rhythm of a 30mm autocannon as the helicopter sprays a stream of high-explosive shells at the plywood drones. Tracers paint the darkness and 6 decoys disintegrate into festive fireballs. Down on the ground, it's even more chaotic. A convoy of Russian mobile fire groups, basically guys in pickup trucks with heavy machine guns bolted to the bed, is tearing down the Rublyovo-Uspenskoye highway. They see the explosions in the sky and start firing wildly into the air, celebrating as they manage to clip 4 more decoys. The operator in Ukraine just shakes his head and smiles. They are burning fuel, burning barrels, and wasting expensive ammo on flying cardboard, he mutters. At 09:30 p.m., the swarm crosses the 50-mile marker and the villain of our story finally wakes up. Parked hastily in the middle of a frozen intersection near Gorky Park, the infamous Pantsir-S1 battery screams to life. Beside him, mobile Tor M2 units hidden in the tree lines join the chorus, launching a volley of vertical launch interceptors. The sky turns into a chaotic light show as 5 more decoys are swatted out of the air by missiles that cost as much as a Lamborghini. But while the ground crews are high-fiving, the pilot of the Ka-52 Alligator helicopter realizes he's been duped. He banks hard, diving from the clouds down to the river deck, switching on his massive searchlight. The beam sweeps the dark waters of the Moskva River, and suddenly, he sees them. The shadows of the main Liutyi swarm skimming the ice. "Visual on the rats! They are in the riverbed! Cannon ready!" he yells, squeezing the trigger. The 30mm autocannon roars, tearing up the frozen river surface with a line of high-explosive geysers. 3 of the main Liutyi drones are caught in the spray and vanish in balls of fire, but the rest of the pack reacts instantly. The onboard AI detects the muzzle flashes and sends the drones into a violent, randomized zigzag pattern. The Russian pilot curses, fighting the stick as his target reticle bounces wildly. "Damn it! They are flying like they know I'm aiming. How do they move like that?" At 09:45 p.m., the swarm crosses the 20-mile perimeter and the drones stop being machines and become predators. The onboard AI kicks into terminal phase. The neural networks, trained on terabytes of satellite imagery, finally recognize the geometric shape of the Kremlin walls and the distinctive red stars on the towers. They don't need GPS anymore. They are hunting by sight. On the ground, the Russian defense reaches a breaking point. The Pantsir-S1 battery guarding the southern approach has exhausted its missile supply and switches to its dual 30mm cannons. The barrels spin up, spitting out 5,000 rounds per minute, creating a literal wall of lead and tracer fire that glows cherry red in the night. It manages to shred a few more incoming drones, turning them into confetti, but the barrels are overheating, glowing white-hot in the freezing air. High above, the baton passes to a fresh Mi-28N Night Hunter attack helicopter. The pilot, seeing the swarm approaching the city center, screams, "Swarm low, firing Igla!" He unleashes a heat-seeking man-pads missile, but the Liutyi drone's engine is too small and too cold against the frozen ground clutter. The missile loses lock and slams harmlessly into a snowbank. Frustrated, the pilot switches to his cannon, spraying rounds dangerously close to the residential blocks below. "I have no tone, they are ghosting me," he yells, his voice cracking with panic. "It's like shooting at a shadow." Down on the streets, the panic is even worse. The mobile fire groups have retreated to the ring road, effectively driving in circles around the Kremlin. Soldiers hang out of windows with shoulder-fired missiles, taking desperate shots at anything moving in the sky. One nervous conscript fires an igla at a low-flying shadow, misses the drone entirely, and blows the top off a massive decorative Christmas tree near Gorky Park. The burning plastic branches rain down on the street as an officer screams, "Watch your fire, you idiot, you're shooting at Moscow." The vaunted air defense of the capital has devolved into a circular firing squad, and the swarm is still 10 miles out. At 09:52 p.m., the Russian defense runs out of bullets and starts running on pure panic. The Pantsir battery guarding the approach clicks dry, its 12 missile tubes empty, and its cannons jammed from overheating. Above, the Ka-52 pilot screams "Bingo fuel" into his radio, realizing he has to choose between protecting the Kremlin or crashing into the suburbs. Desperate, the command center plays their final card. They order the Krasuka 4 electronic warfare station to go nuclear. The system pumps out enough broadband interference to fry a microwave at 50 paces, aiming to sever the connection between the drones and their masters. But the Ukrainian drones don't even blink. They switched to autonomous AI flight modes 10 miles ago. They aren't listening to GPS, they are looking at the ground. The Russian EW officer watches in horror as the jamming has zero effect. "They aren't stopping," he yells. "It's like screaming at a deaf man." On the ground, infantry units pop smoke grenades in a futile attempt to hide the massive red walls of the Kremlin, turning Red Square into a foggy, chaotic mess. That is when Ukraine plays the ace. The lead mother drone in the pack suddenly jettisons a payload of hundreds of micro decoys, tiny radar-reflective strips of foil that bloom in the wind. The S-400 targeting computer, designed to track 300 targets simultaneously, suddenly sees 3,000. The screen floods with false contacts. The system effectively suffers a blue screen of death, unable to distinguish a lethal drone from a piece of falling glitter. The chaos in the air turns physical. The Mi-28N pilot, blinded by the smoke and the radar clutter, nearly collides mid-air with a drone, pulling a 4G turn that scrapes the skids across a rooftop. On the ring road, a pickup truck from the mobile fire group swerves to avoid falling debris and flips over, sending its machine gun skidding across the asphalt. The mighty defense of Moscow has collapsed into a bar brawl. At 09:58 p.m., the chaotic symphony of gunfire dies down, replaced by the terrifying whine of engines screaming toward the finish line. Out of the original swarm of 40, only 5 Liutyi drones remain. But in the game of strategic bombing, 5 is a winning hand. They cross the garden ring, dropping to 30 feet, flying lower than the streetlights. High above, the pilot of the last Ka-52 Alligator makes a desperate suicidal dive to intercept. He lines up the lead drone in his HUD and squeezes the trigger. Click, the cannon is dry. He frantically tries to lock an Igla missile, but at this range, amidst the thermal noise of the city, the seeker head just spins in confusion. He watches the black shape slip underneath his rotors, speeding toward the citadel. The pilot slumps in his seat, whispering a resigned, "Glory to Russia," into his mask as he realizes he is now just a spectator with a front row seat to a disaster. On the cobblestones below, the Russian ground defense has collapsed into total paralysis. The pickup trucks of the mobile fire groups are gridlocked, blocked by panicked civilian traffic and their own incompetence. Machine guns click empty. Soldiers scramble out of their vehicles, slipping on the ice, watching helplessly as the drones buzz overhead like angry hornets. There is no one left to shoot. The billion-dollar shield has failed. In the Ukrainian bunker, the FPV feed stabilizes for the first time in 10 minutes. The image is crystal clear. The red brick walls of the Kremlin loom large. The Spasskaya tower clock shows 2 minutes to 10. The brightly lit dome of the Senate Palace, Putin's office, fills the screen. The operator leans back, a wide, predatory grin spreading across his face. He doesn't need to aim anymore. He just needs to not blink. At 10 p.m. sharp, the first Liutyi drone doesn't knock. It kicks the door in. It slams directly into the base of the rooftop Pantsir-S1 tower on the Ministry of Defense building. The physics are absolutely brutal. We are talking about 400 pounds of carbon fiber traveling at 100 miles per hour. delivering a 165-pound high-explosive warhead. The kinetic energy alone cracks the concrete foundation, but the detonation is what steals the show. The blast wave shreds the delicate radar arrays of the $15 million air defense system, turning the pride of the Russian military into a twisted sculpture of burning scrap metal in a fraction of a second. Simultaneously, the remaining 4 drones dive onto the Senate Palace inside the Kremlin walls. Boom, boom, boom. The explosions ripple through the festive night, blowing out the windows of the historic building and sending shards of glass raining down onto the cobblestones of Red Square. The Christmas lights strung up around the square flicker and die, replaced by the angry orange glow of a raging fire on the roof of Russian power. Santa didn't bring coal this year, he brought C4. The scene on the ground is pure, unadulterated chaos. The shockwave knocks the soldiers in the mobile fire groups off their feet. The Ka-52 helicopter, dodging debris from the explosion, is forced to make a hard emergency landing in the middle of a street intersection, its rotors clipping a traffic light. The pilot stumbles out, coughing in the black smoke that is now billowing from the Kremlin, blotting out the stars. Inside the palace, the party is definitely over. The emergency generators kick in, but the damage is done. The symbolic impact is nuclear. The lights in downtown Moscow flicker and die as the grid reacts to the trauma. For the first time in history, the Kremlin goes dark on Christmas Eve, not because of a power cut, but because a garage-built swarm just unplugged the regime. Let's look at the receipt for this holiday dinner. Ukraine spent roughly $150,000 on this entire swarm, decoys, explosives, and engines included. In exchange, they destroyed a $15 million Pantsir system, damaged the Kremlin, and humiliated a nuclear superpower on live television. That is an asymmetric return on investment that defies logic. Russia spent billions building a ring of steel around Moscow. They have radars that can see into space and missiles that fly at Mach 4. But tonight, they got beat by a bunch of slow, loud fiberglass airplanes because they were too arrogant to look down. Ukraine didn't just break through the shield, they shattered the myth of Russian invincibility. The lesson for today, guys, is simple. Don't start a fight if you can't guard your own chin. Ukraine isn't just surviving this war, they are fighting it American style. Smart, cheap, and dangerously funny. They just proved that in 2025, you don't need an ICBM to threaten a capital. You just need a good internet connection and a sense of humor. So, here's the question for the comments section. If you were that Ka-52 pilot watching the drones fly past you, what would be going through your mind? Respect for the tech or pure terror for your job? Let me know below. And if this story shocked you, smash that like button and subscribe for more case studies on how drone warfare is rewriting history. Merry Christmas and glory to Ukraine!